Hello, hi guys. Welcome to Two Docs Podcast. Dr. Ali here.
And I'm Dr. Ingky, and welcome to the podcast. Two medical doctors most of the time talk about non-medical stuff, but sometimes talk about medical stuff.
Sometimes, I think we will be coming up with some medical series
Exactly.
soon, hopefully. In the meantime, the last two topics that we were talking about about
Tax.
Filing an income tax, and also skills that's going to
Skills.
make you more money. So if you missed those episodes, just wind back to our previous episode, and you will probably get educated with some stuff and share with us your thoughts. Now this week, we're going to talk about something different. I'm going to be talking about 4 essential skills that everyone should have when they're going into a job.
Interesting.
Yeah, so a lot of times we think there are certain skill sets that we need going into a job, and some people say they are your soft skills, your hard skills, or whatnot. But let me break it down into 4 very simple one. Right. So skill number 1, you should have good time management skill.
All right. So what does time? Okay, how do you dictate what is good time management skills?
Make sure you come to work on time. That's criteria number 1. A lot of people actually cannot even keep that in mind, coming to work on time and attending the meetings that you're supposed to attend on time.
Now, why do you think people don't come on time then?
Sorry?
Why do you think people don't come on time, even though the time has been preset?
That's precisely the thing. Poor time management. Now, we always have an excuse. Jam, other work commitments, unforeseeable circumstances, which happens quite often. So technically, an unforeseeable circumstance is foreseeable.
Okay.
Yeah, you just have to factor in that extra time to compensate for that. So to be able to manage that is what time management is all about. You need to know the ones that you can control, the ones that you cannot control, but you buffer it.
All right. So always make sure. So what you're trying to say is always make sure you come on time, and how you come on time is always to expect the unexpected.
Expect the unexpected. It's pretty much like KL Jam. You want to go on Federal Highway, expect the unexpected. It's always going to be jam anyway. That's the expected. All right. Just in case, if that day there was no jam, great. That is your bonus. But if you're going to go from KL to Subang on a normal day, it's 25-30 minutes. You have to factor in an hour and 15 minutes on a peak hour, maybe an hour and a half, depending on which way of the traffic that you're at.
Yeah, I do agree that time management is important, and there's actually a lot of cultures. There are a lot of cultures all over the world that put time management actually very high on the priority, whether it's for personal or whether it's for work. However, there are certain parts of the world whereby we are always fashionably late.
Yes. The biggest time management wasting or time wasting country, Philippines.
All right.
So when the event says at 7:30, right? Forget it. They start at 9. I think you had one, right?
Yeah,
in the
mine
Middle
was
East.
in Egypt actually.
Yeah. I remember you telling me.
Yeah, so the meeting was supposed to start at 9 a.m. I think we only started at 1 p.m.
1 p.m. Yeah,
At 9 a.m., nobody was at the meeting area. I think because it was a large event, so there were vendors setting up booths and all. They were in the midst of setting up, even though the event was supposed to start at 9. Yeah, so time management. So actually, I think the issue is cultural.
Correct,
Whereby it is culturally acceptable to be late
in certain
parts of the world. And when that happens, and then when that culture meets a culture whereby they're very strict on time, example,
Japan.
maybe the Japanese, the Koreans, they're very strict on time. All right, it means that if it starts at 9 o'clock,
it's 9 sharp.
It's 9 sharp.
It's
If
not
you're
9:01.
Yeah, exactly. If you're not there by 9, it doesn't matter how important you are. The
who
thing
you
will
are.
start. Yes,
Correct. So time management also, part of it means to understand the difference in culture and to adjust. Just because, let's say we're Malaysian, we're in the between of Philippines and Japan, we are fashionably late by about half an hour.
Usually half an hour.
Usually half an hour, give or take. Everything is on the way.
Yeah. So in Malaysia, I think we always accept that half an hour.
Correct.
So even if we are on time, we expect our friends or our colleagues to come within that half an hour period.
Plus minus. Usually it's minus.
Yeah, usually it's minus. Well, what's the worst can happen if you factor in all this unexpected? The worst can happen is you just arrive on time, or you arrive early.
Yep.
Right. You arrive early, you can sit there and just.
There are other things you can do.
Yeah,
do something. There are many ways to be productive. So skill number 1 that every job expects you to have is actually good time management, which includes not just being on time, but understanding the culture and adjusting accordingly. All right. Now, moving on. Skill number 2, listening and memory skill. listening and memory skill, because this will tie in with the next one, and I'll explain again. So a lot of time people hear but they don't listen. You know, they go into a meeting or they receive instructions, but it goes in one side, goes out the other side. So that's just the ability to hear, but you're not listening, you're not capturing the point, and more important, to have the memory or the retention of it.
Okay.
So to listen, actively listen, is different from just hearing. To be able to have that memory capacity to capture it, you probably, if you don't have that photographic or recorder-like memory, you better jot it down somewhere, post-it notes or your notepad or even on your phone. These days, there's so many ways to help you remember. But I find this is one of the skills that actually a lot of job applicant lacks these days. They can hear. They hear what you're saying. You tell them everything. Not hit. They can even repeat on the spot. But an hour later, they just totally forget. Or the instruction of what you tell them to do just gets jumbled up.
Likely, maybe that is due to the fact that this is not their priority. It means they do not prioritize processing and storing the information. Hence, they don't store the information.
But if you're going into a job, it's something that you would want to have, and that's what your employer or your subordinate or your boss would want you to have. Because if they tell you to do A, B, C, D, E, or at least all this will somehow achieve the outcome of Z. Now, if you achieve outcome of Z, but you didn't follow the flow and it worked and you got away with it, that's fine. But more often, the Z is not achieved, and that's when they will scrutinize. Did you do A, B, C, D, E, or you did A, B, and E? So it's I think a growing problem that a lot of people have, because they are unable to listen actively and to be able to retain it to make into an actionable outcome.
Right. So for those who are then maybe they don't have the habit or the capacity to listen and store the information, what tips and tricks do you have in order for them to retain the information as much as possible?
Tips and tricks. Use whatever technology you have. If you are unable to retain that fast, right, record it.
Oh, right.
Record it. And I think it's fair. I mean, if someone I'm working with together or working with me says, can I record this meeting? I have no problem.
Yeah.
It also helps. I wouldn't swear lah.
So recording actually works because not only are you recording the audio, you can actually record visual as well. If they're allowed.
Right? If they're allowed. At the bare minimum, the audio, because then you can transcribe it later. And I think nowadays, but of course, with technology, transcription of language is a bit more difficult. But unless everyone speaks in proper English, then perhaps you can even run it through a software that can transcribe 50 to 70% of whatever that's spoken inside. You see the points and then you just summarize it later into actionable outcomes.
All right. Are you alright with someone in the meeting popping up their laptops or their tablet or their iPads and typing it in?
I'm actually okay with that. Especially, but on condition when I'm talking or there's a point going on, that's fine. But if in between, right, there's no new points, right, and you're just typing away, and I kind of detect that you're on WhatsApp, right? WhatsApp, Messenger. Then that becomes a bit of an issue.
Yeah.
And you can tell. Trust me, the bosses would know one. You know, there's only certain times whereby when you type, it's relevant to whatever that was spoken. In between, suddenly, and then there's a smile on your face, and we know you're up to something else.
Yeah, always come to worst, just go old school, pen and paper.
Correct.
Pen and paper.
Pen and paper. Just write down the salient points, because with the points, you can always go back and say, can I get clarification?
Correct.
Clarification. Because you didn't get everything, but you at least got the main topics done, and just go up and ask someone or even ask your boss, I just want to clarify this few points. Can you assist me? I just want to make sure I get it right. You know, when you approach someone with this, no one's going to fault you for not writing down everything verbatim, word for word. I'm perfectly fine, because at least you got the points right, rather than spoke the whole meeting and there was 10 points and you only wrote 2.
Correct.
That's worse, right? Point number 3, self-motivation. Self-motivation. So a lot of times people are very reactive. Spank, then move. It's kind of like,
Okay.
it's like a bullock cart. The more you hit, then the faster it moves, but there's no motivation to move ahead. So self-motivation to be able to anticipate the outcome, or at least to be able to move based on the task that is given. A lot of time people are like, they get given the task, then instead of asking for help, instead of doing it straight away, they will say, I probably need some guidance. And instead of asking for help, they will actually sit there and procrastinate, and they just don't do
anything.
Just don't do anything. And when you ask an update later, or when the deadline has arrived and you ask, so how's the outcome? I haven't started. Why? I don't know how to do. So self-motivation on the most extreme side is, of course, you are able to do it on your own, and you do slightly beyond, and you give options. But on the next one is at least asking for help to get it done. That's also a form of self-motivation. That's how our standards have adjusted to more modern day sliding scale of modern day requirement.
No, I would say a lot of people are afraid for us to ask for help because
they appear incompetent.
Yeah, when you ask for help, you appear incompetent and you appear weak. And maybe you don't want to appear weak in front of your bosses. Maybe you don't want to appear weak in front of your colleagues. So hence a lot of people just don't ask for help. They just, as you mentioned, they either procrastinate or they do the bare minimum, whereby there's just so many mistakes that, till they get guidance, because due to the mistakes, right? It means that, hey, you've already done all these mistakes. You shouldn't have done it this way. You should have done it properly. But of course, that's after a good scolding and all.
Yeah.
Right? So a lot of people don't actually ask for help because of the fear of being incompetent or weak.
Now, do you have a tip to ask for help without appearing incompetent?
I would always say I have no experience in this.
That's good.
I was approach someone say, hey, I don't have any experience in this. You have more experience than me. So in your experience, how should I approach this?
Yeah, I think that's a very fair way to ask, especially if you are really new. But let's say if you are some time into the job and you still don't get it. A way to phrase it is, how can I'm in the midst of doing it, and this is what my progress is. How can I make it better? I want to be more careful in the outcome. That actually is so ambiguous. It doesn't tell people you're incompetent.
True.
It tells people, I want to be more careful. I want to do it right the first time, as best as possible. Minimize mistakes. Harm reduction. It's a preview to another episode. Harm reduction. So anyway, but that's basically the point. You approach the subject, or you approach the problem by saying, how can I make it better? If someone approached that, I never feel they are incompetent. Rather than just say, don't know. Yeah. That is lack of motivation.
Yeah. And actually a third way, which I would say would be also a very good way, is as you're progressing, ask for feedback.
Correct.
Right?
I think
as you're progressing,
I think that's something that we don't do very
Yes.
often. We want to get it done. We like a praise, but we don't ask for feedback how to be better for the next round.
And actually, a lot of people actually have issues, have anxiety taking constructive criticism because they think that it's not constructive criticism; it's just criticism.
Correct.
Exactly.
Correct.
So as you're doing whatever you're doing, the task at hand, keep asking for feedback. You can ask for feedback from your colleagues. If let's say you're afraid of your superiors, ask from your colleagues, right? People around you. But if your superior is approachable, ask from your superior.
Yep.
At least with this constant feedback, you know whether you're, number one, headed the right direction, number two, doing a good job, and number three, letting your superiors know that you're actually doing work.
Correct. Because sometimes they to be fair, we expect the work done, and when it's done right, it's just a tick off the to-do list. Yeah, and we don't care who did it. We only care that it's being done. So when you come and ask for a constructive feedback, I finished the task. How can I make it better the next time?
Yeah.
Then I will ask, so did you do this? Yes. Okay. Registered. This task was actually done by Dr. Ingky. So that, in a very subtle manner, is you are trying to, in a way, let people know that you got the job done, but you want to be better.
True.
You want to be better. You want to make it better, more efficient. So keywords to say, how can I be better? How can I make it more efficient, more productive? These are what it's as good as giving Ingky a coffee in the morning.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It puts you in a good mood. You want to be better. I like that.
Of course, everyone likes that
self-motivation to be better.
Everyone likes it.
Yep. All right, and moving on to the next one. Self-confidence. Now, I'm not saying overconfidence. Self-confidence. I think this is one factor, especially when it comes to work, that a lot of people lack actually. So They feel that they are not good enough for the task. Now, you don't have to be overconfident about it, but you must be able to, at least when you, let's say you're presenting something or you want to get a point across, be confident in your approach rather than stammer, rather than say, I'm not sure all the time, I have no idea. These are words which are very negative in the confidence factor. So be able to speak like how the Americans do it. But also be humble enough to accept the feedback in case if your confidence had borderline bullshit that came in.
All right, so how do you increase your self-confidence then?
To increase your self-confidence, I would say number one, make yourself very skillful. Be good at what you are at. And if you're not good at it, ask enough, research enough. These days with Google, ChatGPT, there's no reason why you can't make yourself better to the point whereby you are fairly confident of whatever that you're going to be doing. So read up or do enough research to approach your task. Skill will take time to get better, but at least have that knowledge, that background knowledge that puts you in a position of higher ground, that I know what I'm trying to do. See, still trying to do, but I know what I'm trying to do. However, I can always accept feedback to be better. So I think that gives people the confidence that you can carry out the task. Versus someone who has no confidence, then your superior will feel, are you the right person? One time, two time, by the third time, they'll just bypass you and forever you'll be in the shadows.
Yeah, that's right.
And then career progression gets halted.
That's true.
So you want to have that career progression, you need to have some amount of self-confidence.
Yeah, and even if you do not really fully understand or know all the information, I would say whenever someone asks you for certain things and you feel that, hey, I lack the confidence, there are actually a couple of tricks. One is to speak slowly, because the faster you speak, the higher the chance for you to stammer.
Correct.
So you speak slowly. And secondly is do not BS. Do not add in stuff which you do not know.
Correct.
Because if your superior
catches you
and they know that you are BSing, sometimes they're just going to ask you more stuff, and then you're going to dig a hole even deeper for yourself.
Yeah, this is called the medical exam.
Yeah, so they will just wait for you to make more and more mistakes to the point whereby then they'll catch you off guard. Say, hey, whatever you mentioned is all wrong. And then when they catch you doing that, straight away your self-confidence will actually drop to zero.
Correct.
So
either that or you continue BSing.
Yes, or you continue BSing. All right, if you do not know, just say, I'm sorry, I do not know it, or I'm sorry, I made this mistake. I'll do better next time.
Right. So hope you guys found this session beneficial. 4 skills that you should have when you're going into the job. Number 1, time management skill. Number 2, being able to listen and have memory retention. Number 3, self-motivation. Number 4, self-confidence. All right, we'll be back next week with another topic on our Two Dogs podcast. Hope you guys have a good weekend. Like, share,
subscribe, and comment below.
What you think are the skills that is important in going into a job. Right. Of course, there's a lot more.
These are
just 4 very essential ones, right? Until then, this is me, Dr. Ali, signing off.
And I'm Dr. Ingky. Have a good weekend.